Yeah, kid! Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer podcast. I'm your host, Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer, aka Captain Permit, aka
El Judío Maravilloso.
Which in Spanish, Larry, I know you don't speak Spanish, means the marvelous Jew. All right? Who else is marvelous? You know he's marvelous. He flies across the skies. He saves people from the building department with a single bound, leaps buildings. I don't know. You get the point. Captain Permit, 516-513-8838. If you have a house that smells like cat pee, is dated from the 1960s, has 6 inches of mold on the wall, land, notes, anything real estate related, I'm low maintenance. I want to buy it. 516-777-SOLD. So, we have a bona fide real estate celebrity in our presence today. I've been chasing this gentleman for a while. His schedule makes my schedule look like all I do is vacation all the time. He's 24/7. He's 63 years old and getting better every day. We obviously go to the same barber, which you'll see in a minute. He is, I'm honored to be in his presence. He is a prolific force in the real estate world. Not only does he sell 100 houses a year, or sold 100 houses a year last year, he's consistently done that for over 30 years. And in a world of social media and tech and modernization, he actually continues to do it in the old school way, which is absolutely fascinating to me. He was in Newsday this past weekend. He's a Grand Centurion. He works for Century 21. That is the award, which basically means that you have sold over 100 houses and you are basically the highest grossing agent. He was the number 17 agent in regards to gross sales in Century 21 in the world. Let's say that again. In the world. They broke the mold when they made you, Larry. They don't build men like you anymore. Larry Theodore, Century 21. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Charles.
It's great to have you here, man.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I've been chasing you for a while, you know that.
Quite a while, over a year and a half, yes.
Because I was hearing there are younger agents that are in Century 21, Louis Cardina, and a number of other ones, and they're like, Larry, and I'm like, I know Larry. Larry's a great guy. We always try to do a deal. We're like this close. It hasn't worked out yet. I'm still hopeful, but and then I started looking into and doing more research, and I'm like, Larry is a man that people need. Forget about want. They need to hear about on this platform. So, I mean, you're the king of Farmingdale, my friend.
Thank you.
Or the king of Century 1, I should say. I got a bunch of questions for you, and there's kind of a bunch of things I want to hear about your progression and where you came from that we were talking a little bit off air. You've had an entrepreneurial spirit your entire life.
Yes.
I read an article about you yesterday where you started a business at 13 years old, in the landscaping business. Give a little bit of background about how that came about, your upbringing. And
so I 13 years old. My mom and dad separated and got divorced. Growing up in Levittown, one brother. My mom couldn't pay the mortgage, so I decided to start a lawn business. I knocked on doors, and by the time I was 14 years old, I had 50 lawns and I had accounts, and I'd help my mom pay the mortgage and put food on the table. And then I did something interesting. At 15 years old, I was starting to get ready to get my driver's license. I needed to buy my first truck for my landscaping. So I took the 50 lawn accounts and I went around and knocked on all 50 doors. And I basically told the homeowners, I will make you a deal. This is in November. If it snows this winter, I will shovel your snow each and every time if it's over 1 inch of snow for $100 if you pay me up front now. I got 50 of them to say yes, and I closed them, and I collected $5,000, and I bought my first pickup truck.
At 15?
At 15. I didn't have my license yet. So I had a gentleman who was a little older, had his permit, license, and he would drive me around until I had my license with the lawns being cut.
So you paid a guy to drive you around to cut lawns and shovel snow in the truck that you bought with money that you got up-fronted from people at 15.
Yes. And then I continued along and I built it up. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I had 300 lawn accounts. I had over 30 employees, a bookkeeper, a secretary. And basically...
This is while you're in school.
In high school.
In high school.
Yes. In fact, I cut class a lot because I was trying to build up my business, and truthfully, to pass English, which I was at a 62 and I had to get a 65, I delivered a quart of firewood to my English teacher. My social studies teacher, I shoveled the snow all winter to pass. I was
Better
voted,
than being an athlete, right?
I was voted most likely to succeed in my senior year in high school. I'm in the yearbook with a picture of me in front of my truck. Jesus. And I continued along. I decided to go to Farmingdale Agricultural College.
I got to stop you there for a second because I want to go back to a couple things you said because I think there are some amazing points that people need to realize, and then also things that I want to kind of ask you a little bit more about. So at 13 years old, I think I was like playing hockey in the street.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that we grow at basically from every really stressful, gut-wrenching situation in life, emotionally tough, amazing things come of that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, if you don't mind, like, you're 13 years old.
Yeah.
Your father leaves. You now literally have to become an adult. Like, I didn't become an adult till I was like 30. At 13, you're now the man of the house, and you're supporting it.
Yes.
What is that like?
I was so driven. I have to tell you, my mom had 8 brothers and sisters. They were off the boat from Italy. Mm-hmm. My grandfather, at 4 years old, I'd follow him around, and he'd have me splitting firewood and teaching me his gardens, and just told me hard work is important.
Yeah.
And basically, I didn't mind rejection because it made me drive to work harder. I mean, a small thing. When I was 3 years old, I lost my hair from alopecia. Mm-hmm. And I went through elementary school. In fact, at kindergarten bus stop, I beat up 3 kids because everybody makes fun of you as a child.
Mm-hmm. You got a good head, though.
And yes, thank you.
Yeah, you got a good head.
And going through elementary school, kids are cruel and they would make fun of you. And I was constantly made fun of. And my grandfather say, Larry, you don't have a handicap. You have your legs, arms, hands, eyes. He goes, just builds intestinal fortitude and character.
Yes.
And just move on. And you're very fortunate. And I put myself into my work, and even as I ran my landscaping from 13 years old on, I loved it. I just loved to work, and I loved to produce.
Who's laughing now? Bunch of miserable dickheads on the playground. I hated school for that reason. Yeah. And it's like elementary school, high school, like that's like a totally different.
So I go into high school. In 7th grade, going into high school now.
Have you been bowled from that point on?
Yes, from 3 years old.
Wow.
Yes. When I was a child, my parents took me because kids were making fun of me. They got wigs. I wore them for 10 minutes. They gave me different cortisone. Nothing worked. And it's a very common thing. It's more common in women than men, alopecia. Usually I got it from a dramatic trauma at that age of 3. But when I finished elementary school and I went into, at that time, high schools was grades 7 through 12. I'm entering my 7th grade, Levittown Memorial.
Yep.
I wore a baseball hat for a whole year because kids ridiculed me. And then I basically started to get into sports, and I played a lot of basketball, baseball, and, it all went away. And then high school got easier, and the whole situation got better.
See, it's interesting because I did a video the other day about, like, I felt my greatest superpower was the fact that society has no hold on me. Meaning, like you, I don't really fear rejection. I really don't give a shit what the world thinks about me. And if you can get to that point, I think you're truly free as a person. Yes. But when I think about it, that kind of stuff only comes with the scars and the battles and all the the emotional trauma. I mean, you went through a lot at a very young age. So, which I think is a blessing because at a very young age you were already there. Like I was there at, let's say, 30. You were there at like 15, where you didn't care what anybody thought about you, and you're like, but it sounds like essentially from birth you had that hard wiring of work hard, do the right thing, like. Something that I feel is lost in society today. I don't think the younger generation works like that.
I was out from the sun comes up to the sun comes down, outside constantly, working not in front of a TV set or a radio or a computer. Well, they didn't have computers then, back in the 60s. But
They even have beepers.
and basically just thrive to build my landscaping business and be successful. And that was it. And then,
so where does real estate come in?
and then at the age, and quite frankly, at the age of 27, 28, my landscaping business grew so big. At that time, I took on partners. I started a nursery. I bought land, started growing, plants and bushes and selling Christmas trees and pumpkins. And I got so big, and basically the business got away from me, and I lost the business, and I basically kind of lost everything.
Was it because of bad partnerships?
I was young.
Yeah.
I knew how to go out and sell, and at that point I was so big I was selling the jobs,
Yeah.
but all the employees were doing the actual work and to supervise everybody and taking up partners. I lost touch, and at a young age I wasn't a great businessman in delegating.
But who teaches you that? Nobody
Right,
does.
exactly. So the business went under, and
Wow.
I basically lost the business. And I went to a career in real estate, a Century 21 career in real estate at 28 years old in Hauppauge. And I then got called by a Century 21 office in Farmingdale. And I went in for an interview, and I started there at 29 years old. At that time, Century 21 Dallow Realty. Ted and Phyllis Dallow had hired me, and I worked with them in the office. They had been the brokers owners. They had originally had an office in Levittown, and then I continued along for years. To this day, I'm still at the same location, 392 Conklin Street in Farmingdale, corner of Conklin and Maine, in the heart of Farmingdale. I've been there 33 years. Now, Century 21 American Homes, owned by Tom Gallagher and Mike Litzner, and I love it. And I love the company I'm with now. I love Century 21, and people go through life hating their jobs. To me, it's a passion. I love what I do every day, day in and day out.
I want to know, you're at 63 years old. You have, I feel it. I feel the passion and the fire coming across the table, which I love, because this is what gets me pumped up. What gets you up every day? What's your motivator, your driving force? What is it? Because, you've had a lot of success. You have a great family. I remember 3 sons. You've done a lot, right? At 63 years old, after selling 100 plus houses a year for 33 years, what gets you fired up every day to keep doing it?
Well, first of all, I am very fortunate because people go through life not having a mate, a soulmate. And I met my wonderful wife, Patricia, at 29 years old. I'd been in the business for just a couple of months. Patricia worked at a different real estate in Farmingdale. She came into my office to pick up a key to show one of my listings. Mm-hmm. And I fell head over heels for her. We became best of friends.
But you were really
for a year.
You weren't real. You were really trying to you were really trying to sleep with her. Be honest.
Oh, she's gorgeous. So I basically just became friends. We were platonic friends for over a year and a half. And we'd get together for coffee. We'd talk on the phone. I'd go to pick her up. We'd go to some broker open house together. Lo and behold, 2 years later, we were married. And she's my 30 years plus now. We are soulmates. She makes me so happy. We have had a wonderful 30 years together, 30 plus years. And I married Pat. She had 3 young boys when I married her. Mm-hmm. They were 13, 11, and 5 at the time. Mm-hmm. And it's been a great run, and I hope it continues.
I got to stop you there for a second, because you're leaving out the juicy part that everyone wants to hear, which is, what is the moment? So you're platonic friends, which is really like you saying, all right, I'm gonna chip away at you until you realize how wonderful I am, and we're gonna be together because I already know I want to be with you. What's the moment where she realizes that you're that guy, and it turns from platonic to a lifetime of happiness?
Friends. It just became. We liked each other so much.
There's got to be one moment though. She looks at you, you look at her, and it's just there's a kiss in an open house. Give me something here.
It just happened.
That's beautiful.
It just happened. It just absolutely just happened. She's marvelous.
And you've been with her
since
30...
we got married in 1989. Yes, got married in 89. Yeah.
How important do you feel? I mean,
I did try to. I used my salesmanship. I told her when I was dating her at this point. I told her I can lay bricks and I could put in decks and I can make mussels marinara and I can cook this and shrimp. After we got married, she realized I'm not that good of a cook and I can't do bricks and lay decks, but I could sell real estate and earn a lot of money.
Let me ask you this question. Where do you I was blessed enough to actually have a formal sales training. Where do you have any formal training, or is this just sales training, or is this just something that's just innately within you?
Well, my father was a salesman all his life, and he was basically used to sell to car dealerships pendants and pencils and all that kind of thing, and giveaways. And I watched him a little bit, but I got the work ethic from my grandfather. I did once I got into real estate in the late 80s, I went to Tom Hopkins boot camp in New Jersey a couple of times. I memorized every word. I studied it, but I put it in my own laid-back type of thing, not the hard sell. I went to see Floyd Wickman, Sweat Hogs. I did the Zig Ziglar.
Yeah. You saw Zig Ziglar?
Yes.
I would have loved to have seen him.
All of them. I followed them all. And I read the books. I listened to the tapes, and I just put it all together. But I took my own salesman, abilities to the next level.
Off air, when we were talking before, I think.
And my biggest thing with my sales is, growing up, being made fun of and so on, kids, I became a very sensitive person, very gentle, and I was able to do one thing with my clients, whether they were 20-somethings, 40-somethings, 60s, or the elderly. I was able to empathize with them and relate to their emotions and their needs. And I basically had a saying when I started the business, I would hold their hand from the day I met them till the moving truck is in front of their home, and then some and afterwards. And I built a lifetime relationship with most of these clients and customers.
Talk to me. I want to go into that, but off air before, you had mentioned a motivator of being fear of failure as a motivator.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, as you succeed, the fear of failure is the biggest driving force. So if I'm successful a particular year, and then January comes, I like to go out in the new year, because in sales, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. You're starting all over.
Exactly.
And you have to build your inventory up again in January, February, March. It's like growing your crops. I need inventory, product, so it can be sold. So I'd go out every January knocking on doors. In the snowstorms, I'd knock on doors, go after expired listings for sale by owners, and try to goal to get 10 to 15 listings per month from January to Memorial Day, which sets the stage for the year. And if I didn't succeed and do that, it's the fear of failing drives me to work harder.
So, a bunch of different things in regards to, where do I start with this? So, you have a system where you are the king of Farmingdale. At least I say you're the king of Farmingdale. You concentrate on there are agents that are all over the place. I see agents that are they're trying to do deals in Manhattan and Montauk. I had Brian Karp on. Do you know Brian Karp?
Yes.
Brian Karp on. He's basically the younger version of you. He only sticks in a certain area.
Yes.
Right? A lot of agents that are hyper successful, on the level that you guys are, they have a core area, and I think people will say, there's only X amount of houses in this area, I can't just stick there, or they'll go wherever. But you've taken that and you concentrate on, is it strictly Farmingdale, or is it...
When I chose to get in the business in the 80s, I decided to, and working in the heart of Farmingdale Village, I decided to do something unique most realtors don't do. I mainly would do my business listing and selling in Farmingdale. So 90% of my business is in Farmingdale.
Why did you do that?
To concentrate, because I saw too many agents going all over the island, all over the area, the county to sell. And by concentrating in the area, I got to know the neighborhood well.
Yeah.
It helped it helped me service my sellers and buyers better. And I would stay in a concentrated area, going to the school board meetings, learning about the schools, and being able to give educated information to everybody. And it made me more successful. I go into Bethpage, Massapequa, surrounding towns, but majority of my business is in Farmingdale.
So you didn't just stick to Farmingdale selling there. You immersed yourself in the community.
Absolutely.
In every aspect.
Yes.
And I mean, two things. A, you were born and raised here.
Yes.
Right? So you've seen Long Island transition, and I mean, Farmingdale is going through an unbelievable downtown revitalization. What is it like to have seen the progression of Long Island and Farmingdale in general over the past 60 years?
I mean, it's been amazing. I could just say, 7 years ago, there were over 25 vacancies on Main Street, and it could have went either way. Right now, there's 2 or 3. It's rated number 1 downtown Farmingdale 3 years in a row. Huntington used to be. And it's, what the mayor has done and the whole board is amazing. What they've done with the town. It's just truly astonishing. It's the place to be. Farmingdale is 92% Nassau, 8% Suffolk. I mean, I can go on. I know all the statistics, everything about the town.
I love it here. I mean, the office is here, obviously. It's centrally located. It's an awesome place. I guess the only thing I wish they had was more land so they can continue to build, because it's not that big. I wish it was more of like, it was more spread out like a patch hog, and you can continue to develop it.
I mean, it's great because you're close to the Bethpage State Park and Golf Course. You're close to the town shopping and the railroad.
Yes.
And it's just convenient to all transportation, parkways, and close commute to the city. It's amazing.
So we live in a digital age of social media, phone, everything. You are basically defying all logic right now of what you do. You don't do any of that, yet you are consistently selling as much, if not more, than you ever have before. I mean, what do you say to that?
I'm old school. I do it the old-fashioned way. I get a lead for a house to go for sale. I start a folder, a worksheet. I handwrite in the notes on illegal pads, and I put them in the folder and all the research. Every one of my listings has their own personalized folder with every detail of information. Excuse me. And when I have buyers, the same thing. There's folders. I keep track of all conversations between buyers, sellers, attorneys, inspectors. I've had attorneys at closings ask me, something, and I'll say, well, 3 months ago on March 27th at 3 o'clock, I spoke to this one or that one. And it's helped solve problems at closings, solve problems with inspections, everything else.
You essentially have a record
of
every interaction with any person you have in regards to real estate.
I started in the business in 1986 in January.
Holy shit.
When I went on my first appraisal to give someone an appraisal on their home, I started a file, and in the attic of the office on Concord Street, I have a file drawer for each and every year. If somebody calls me after 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that I've been over there to appraise their house, I pull out the folder and I bring it to their house, and they're astonished by the information I've kept and all the notes on their home or about them. And it helps, it makes it so much easier. It's not on computer. I have it, set.
How important is the goal setting, the planning, the due diligence, the documenting that you do? Like, how...
Every year in January, I set goals, and I have a goal sheet hung on the wall in my office. I'm goaling how many listings I plan on getting each month for the year, how many contracts, transactions, how many closings, and I try to reach or pass my goal. And then I work very hard from January 1st, and I work pretty much 6.5 days a week. And then I do enjoy the summer. on Long Island, July and August. So I try to pull back in this July and August a bit and take a little more time, maybe a Saturday here and there, to enjoy the beach with my wife and enjoy the family and things like that.
So let me ask you about this, because this is something I personally struggle with. Balance, quote unquote balance. Yeah. So like, and I've had this conversation with I go to NYU. Did I tell you this? No. I'm getting my master's degree at NYU in real estate development. Okay. So the professors are like hyper successful, best of the best in Manhattan, and I've been talking to them lately, and I said, like, how do you balance it? Because it seems to be very hard. It's like, you are wired to be hyper successful. I'm the same way. But then you have a wife, you have 3 children. Like, how do you balance that? Or is there such thing?
I'm very focused and very regimented. As I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. Alarm goes off at 5, and I basically sit with my coffee and I do an hour and a half of paperwork, emails, planning for the day, a daily plan. I plan what I'm going to do for business that entire day, and then I leave, and usually 9 months a year I'll go outside and I run 4 to 5 miles every morning. In the winter, there's a track at the Y, or near where I live, and I do 4 or 5 miles on the track, and it's total solitude. It relaxes me. It just clears me out, and then I shower up and get to the office and work the whole day.
What time do you go to sleep?
I'm in bed I need 7-8 hours sleep. I'm in bed by 9-10 o'clock.
Okay. Night. Just curious to know.
The thing with I'm not a big social media, I'm not big with social media. I've learned, my grandson taught me how to text maybe 3-4 years ago. I had a flip phone 3 years ago. Basically, but now I'm connected, emails, texting, all that. But I'll tell you, with the way the tech is gone, you have to be in this business. You have to be on, because they're even if I'm off, they're texting. Everybody's texting and emailing, and I'm the type that wants to service my buyers and sellers and hold their hand, because this is one of the third most stressful things in their life, buying and selling a home. And I basically understand that and tell them that.
What are the other two? Marriage and kids?
Death, divorce.
Jesus.
But it's one of the most stressful things in life, buying and selling a home.
And
I do very good with the elderly. They're vulnerable, and I try to really take good care of them. A lot of times I've seen their kids move away and this and that, and they're all alone, and I really try to, I empathize with them. And I also empathize with the young who are, say, the 20-somethings that are starting out, 30-somethings, they're scared, they're buying their first home or trying to get in, and I try to hold their hand and go slow with them also. So
social media, no social media, you have a wide demographic of people that you work with. You're working with 25, 28-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and you're working with 80, 70, 90-year-olds. Yeah. So it's interesting how you've been able to define that. That's very interesting.
One more thing, I'm fortunate of being in the business for 33 years and having the following, doing the right thing for the servicing my buyers and sellers. I've had situations where I've sold I just sold the house on Damon Drive in Farmingdale to a couple. I had sold their parents a house.
Oh, Jesus.
20 years ago, and I sold their grandparents' house.
Oh, Jesus.
And I hope to sell their kids' house someday, or their grandchildren.
God willing.
And that's the following, that I have.
Holy.
And they just come back to me tenfold, and a lot of referrals from my network of clients.
Because obviously, like, you do the right thing. When you do the right thing and you service them, I believe everything that you're telling me right now as far as the way you service them. I heard a rumor that I told you before that every night you come home from, and this might be dramatic and not 100% true, but you'll tell me, you come home from work every night, your wife like blows you a kiss out the window, you smile and wave to her, and then you go out into your garage and you hammer the phones for like 3 hours a night. Is that true?
Absolutely, especially from January to April when I'm trying to get listings. I'm calling all the people that have passed, I've given appraisal to, and I'll take a crate of folders every night, and I'll just get a cup of coffee, light a fire, and pound the phones for a few hours. Yes.
And what are you saying to them? Just, hey, wanted to touch base?
I am not a hard-pressed salesperson. I just say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. I was at your house last year on January 10th. I gave you a free evaluation on your home. How are you doing? How's the family? Can I help you with any real estate needs now or in the near future? I discuss how the rates are, how the market is, etc. And there's one more thing I did want to say.
Sure, of course.
That it's changed from what I did in the 1980s and 90s. I am considered right now, and this is what I consider myself, pretty much a project manager. Every listing that when a seller elects me to and trusts me with one of the largest investments in their lifetime, their home, I become their project. I'm a project manager. I help them with everything, and I solve problems before I become problems. Before I go to their house on a presentation, I have an expediter go to the town, do a FOIL request, and get copies of all the surveys, COs, electrical underwriters, and I bring that to the house.
Yeah.
When I go there, I explain everything. If there's an asbestos on the pipes I have asbestos company go over there for an estimate. I talk to them about pre-home inspections. I talk to them about every facet of the sale from what's going to happen from the beginning to the end. And I become their project manager and helping them stage the house, getting it ready, and explaining everything.
So, this is the kind of stuff I try to tell agents. It basically comes down to work ethic and servicing your clients.
Yes.
And I think social media, no social media, mailers, calls, whatever it is, that word of mouth is the most powerful thing there is.
And I also just say that you have to treat people nicely and with respect and nice. That's one thing that's gotten away, where it was cordial, nice, and polite. I had a situation recently where a realtor called me and was picking my brain about he was going to list his parents' house in another town and needed to get an idea and relied on me for advice. Well, I spent the time on the phone, treated him nicely. It ended up, he said, you know what, I don't want to handle my parents' house. I feel you'd be more apt to do a better job. And he had his parents list the house with me, even though he's a realtor. You've got to, whether it's other realtor colleagues, buyers, sellers, attorneys, engineers, termite companies, you've got to treat everybody nice and the way you want to be treated, with the utmost gentleness and respect, and it'll come back to you.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Final question I want to ask. At the ripe age of 33, you have a lot of years left, a lot of energy.
I wish it was 33. 63.
I know. What does the future of Larry Theodore look like? What's the next 5 years? What's the next 10 years? Is it more of the same? What is it?
Honestly, I have no plans of retiring whatsoever. I absolutely love what I do. It's a passion, and I wake up every day, and I love to be in it. And my wife Patricia is totally behind me and supporting me and continuing, and she makes my life a lot easier in a lot of aspects to make me more successful. And just going to continue to better myself and helping be successful and helping buyers and sellers in the local real estate market.
Larry, you're a gentleman. I love you. Thank you very much for spending the time. You're an inspiration to me, and I know everybody that will listen to this. Keep the hustle up. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Greatly appreciate it. All right? And if you have a house that smells like cat pee, if you're not going to call Larry, you better call me. 516-777-SOLD. Or if you need permits, plans, anything related to towns or town nonsense, Lord knows it's only getting worse by the day. 516-513-8838. You call the captain. Ask to speak to my brother-in-law, Ryan. Best beard in the business, I promise. You text me and let me know. We're out.
orgulloso estoy de mi herencia judía.
Benjamin Lev Ben Shlomo, cuando me llaman a